I want to ask you to do something before I say another word tonight. I want you to think of the thing you desire most. Not the manageable desire, not the modest wish you have permitted yourself, because it seems within the range of the probable. The real one. The one you have perhaps stopped saying aloud, because saying it aloud and then watching it not appear has become its own particular kind of pain. The desire that lives in the deepest and most honest part of you, the one that at you return to in quiet moments, the one that has persisted in you despite everything the outer world has done to discourage it. Hold that desire clearly. Now I want to tell you something about it, something that, if you receive it fully tonight, will permanently alter your relationship to every desire you have ever carried. The power to realize that desire does not lie somewhere outside you, waiting to be accessed through the right sequence of effort or the right accumulation of worthiness. It is not stored in future circumstances you have not yet managed to arrange. It does not belong to people luckier than you, or better positioned than you, or more talented than you. It is in you, right now. Specifically, it is in your consciousness, in your capacity to feel something as real, and it requires, for its full creative activation, not years of preparation, not elaborate ritual, not perfect conditions. It requires 1 minute. I do not say this to minimize the depth of the principle I am about to describe. I say it because precision matters, and the precise truth is this: 1 minute of genuine, complete, wholehearted inhabitation of the feeling of your wish fulfilled plants a seed in consciousness that the law must grow. Not might grow, not will try to grow, must grow with the same certainty that a seed planted in fertile soil must, given time, break through the surface and become what it was designed to be. Tonight I am going to tell you everything you need to know about that 1 minute. The first question the rational mind asks when it hears this is the obvious one. How can 1 minute be sufficient? How can 60 seconds of inner experience produce any meaningful effect on a life built up over years and decades of outer experience? The answer lies in understanding what kind of reality you are working with when you work with consciousness. And this understanding requires you to set aside, at least temporarily, the assumptions about time and cause that the outer world has conditioned you to hold. In the outer world, time is the medium through which causes produce effects. It takes time to build a building, time to grow a crop, time for a wound to heal. The relationship between the cause and its effect is spread across an interval that we measure in hours and days and years. This is the world you navigate with your physical senses, and it operates by these laws reliably enough that you have built your entire understanding of causation around them. But the outer world is not the realm of primary causation. It is the realm of effects. It is the domain in which what has already been established in consciousness takes material form. And the realm of consciousness, the inner world, the world of imagination, the world that Scripture describes when it speaks of the kingdom within, operates by entirely different laws. Chief among them is this: in consciousness, time does not accumulate in the way the outer world requires. A feeling felt with complete absorption is complete the moment it is felt. There is no requirement that it be sustained for hours to take effect. What the subconscious mind receives through genuine, wholehearted feeling, it receives in full regardless of whether the feeling lasted a minute or an hour. The depth of the impression is not determined by its duration. It is determined by its intensity, by the degree to which the feeling was genuine, the degree to which the assumption was truly inhabited rather than merely visited. This is why Scripture speaks of transformation happening in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. This is not hyperbole. It is the precise description of how consciousness operates. The moment of genuine assumption, the moment in which the wish fulfilled is felt as real with complete inner conviction, is the moment the seed is planted. Everything after that is growth, which takes the time it takes, but the planting itself is instantaneous. 1 minute of that quality of feeling is not a substitute for something longer and more powerful. 1 minute of that quality of feeling is the thing. It is the complete, sufficient, legally operative act of creative consciousness. Nothing more is required at the level of planting. What is required after planting is tending, which I will address, but the planting itself can be, and in fact most naturally is, an act of brief, total, completely inhabited feeling. Do not let the brevity deceive you into treating it casually. 1 minute of complete absorption in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is among the most consequential things you will do today. Let me now describe with precision what I mean by this 1 minute, because the word feeling is used so loosely in discussions of this kind that it has lost most of its meaning. And what I am describing is something much more specific than is usually understood. I am not describing enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a mood, an elevated, energized emotional state that comes and goes with circumstance, and that the outer world can disrupt with a single piece of contrary news. Enthusiasm is pleasant, but it is not the creative force. I am not describing visualization, the deliberate construction of mental images. However vivid, however detailed, images without feeling are inert. They are diagrams of what you want, not experiences of having it. The subconscious mind, which is the medium through which imagination becomes outer reality, does not respond to images as images. It responds to felt experience. What I am describing is this: the genuine, embodied, sensory level experience of already being the person for whom the desired thing is simply and ordinarily present. Not the peak emotional moment of receiving something wonderful, though that quality of feeling has its place. The ordinary, settled, completely natural feeling of one for whom this is simply the way things are. Let me make this concrete. If you desire wealth, the feeling I am pointing toward is not the ecstatic excitement of someone who has just unexpectedly received a large sum. That excitement is a response to something new and surprising, and novelty and surprise are the feelings of someone who did not have this before now. The feeling you are reaching for is older and quieter than that. It is the unremarkable, taken for granted sense of sufficiency that belongs to someone who has always had enough and never thinks about it the way you do not think about having air to breathe. The security that is so settled it does not require conscious reinforcement. The ease in the body of one who does not carry the particular tension that comes from financial uncertainty. That is the feeling, quiet, natural, specific, utterly ordinary, from the inside of the state you are inhabiting. If you desire health, the feeling is not the euphoria of recovery. It is the unremarkable freedom of a body that simply works the way you do. Do not notice your knees when they do not hurt. The way the breath comes and goes without thought when the lungs are clear. The absence of the particular weight that illness carries. The ordinary vitality of a person who has simply never thought about whether their body is capable, because it always has been. If you desire love, the feeling is not the intoxication of new romance. It is the warm, steady, background sense of being genuinely known and genuinely valued, the relaxation that comes from not having to perform. The ease of one whose place with the people they care about is not in question. Find that feeling for your desire. The ordinary version, the taken for granted version, the version that belongs not to the moment of arrival, but to the ordinary Tuesday afternoon of a life in which the desired thing is simply present. Then feel it, completely, for 1 minute, with your whole body, not just your mind. Let it settle into your muscles, your breath, the particular way you hold yourself. Let it be as real as anything in the room around you. That is the 1 minute. That is the planting. I have taught many practices over the years, and I will not pretend they are all equally powerful. Some are useful for certain temperaments or certain stages of the work. But if I were asked to identify the single most consistently powerful context for this 1 minute, the specific moment in the rhythm of your day when it produces the deepest and most reliable impression on the subconscious mind, my answer has never changed. It is the threshold of sleep. Let me tell you why. Throughout the waking day, The conscious mind is active evaluating, comparing, analyzing, protecting. It is the gatekeeper of what is allowed to become belief, and it is a vigilant gatekeeper, shaped by years of outer world experience into a system of permissions and exclusions that is not easily overridden. This is, in most circumstances, useful, but it is the primary obstacle to the planting of a genuinely new assumption, because new assumptions by definition contradict the existing ones. And the conscious mind's job is to protect the existing ones from disturbance. As you approach sleep, the conscious mind quiets. The analytical, comparing, evaluating function recedes. The inner critic grows still. And in that quieting, the gate between the conscious and the subconscious opens not all the way, but enough. Enough for a deeply felt impression to pass through without the usual scrutiny, without the usual chorus of contradictory commentary, without the habitual reflex of doubt that intercepts the same impression during the active day. This is the moment when what you feel most genuinely, most completely, passes most directly into the subconscious, which is the creative medium, the faithful servant, the part of you that takes what it receives and works through the night and through the days that follow, to externalize it in your world. Your practice is this. Tonight, as you feel sleep approaching, not before it approaches, but in the moment when the edges of the day are beginning to soften and the active mind is beginning to release its grip, enter your 1 minute. Construct a scene, a small, specific, sensory scene that could only exist if your desire were already fulfilled. Not a grand tableau, not a dramatic moment, a small, quiet, ordinary moment from inside the life you desire. A conversation overheard, a glance at a familiar object in a room that is yours in the desired reality, the particular weight of something in your hand, the specific quality of a feeling in your body, the sound of a voice saying something that could only be said if the thing you want has already occurred. Hold that scene, not with effort, not with the concentrated strain of someone who is trying very hard, with the relaxed, easy, natural inhabitation of someone settling into something familiar. Let your body adopt the physical correlates of the feeling, the particular way the breath moves, the particular ease in the muscles that belongs to this state, and drift into sleep there, from inside the wish fulfilled, carrying it with you as you cross the threshold. Your subconscious mind will receive this impression not as a message about what you hope will happen, but as a fact about what is, and it will begin immediately and without any further instruction from you to arrange the elements of your outer world in the direction of that fact. This is not theory. I have watched it operate, precisely as I have described in case after case. The law does not make exceptions for circumstances that seem too difficult, for histories that seem too entrenched, for people who seem too ordinary. It operates with the same precision and the same faithfulness for everyone who gives it the conditions it requires. Give it those conditions tonight. The 1 minute at the threshold of sleep is the primary planting. But there is a practice that belongs to the waking hours, less intense, less focused, but no less important, that determines how consistently and how swiftly the planted seed grows. I call it living from the assumption throughout the day. It is not the same as the focused 1 minute. It does not require withdrawal from ordinary activity, does not require closing your eyes or entering a particular inner state deliberately. It is subtler than that and more continuous. It is the practice of asking yourself, at various points in the ordinary flow of your day, how would I think about this if my desire were already fulfilled? And then, without performance, without strain, thinking that way. When you encounter news that seems to bear on your desire, how does one who already has what you want respond to that news? From inside the state of the wish fulfilled, what is the natural, unconsidered reaction to this circumstance? This question, asked genuinely and answered honestly, recalibrates your inner position dozens of times throughout the day, gently and consistently reinforcing the impression planted at the threshold of sleep. The complementary practice is monitoring your inner conversations, the stream of self-talk that runs more or less continuously in the background of your conscious life. This stream is, for most people, largely organized around the confirmation of existing assumptions. It is the place where the old state reasserts itself most persistently, most quietly, and most effectively. When you notice the inner conversations speaking from the old state, I still don't have this. I don't know when or whether it will come. I wonder if I'm doing this correctly. You do not need to fight it or suppress it. You simply redirect it. Return to the language of one who already has, not the forced affirmation of someone trying to override doubt, but the simple, natural inner speech of someone speaking from a different address. It is done. It is in progress. It is coming, and I trust the process. These are not incantations. They are the natural speech of a specific state of consciousness, the state of one who has planted and trusts the law, and each time you speak them inwardly from genuine conviction, you are watering the seed. There is one more element of the daytime practice that I want to address, because it is both the most common point of failure and the most straightforward to correct. Stop checking. By this I mean the habit so ingrained in most people that they barely notice it of regularly scanning the outer world for evidence that the manifestation is in progress. The daily inventory of confirming signs, the analysis of every circumstance for what it might mean about whether the law is working. I have addressed this in other contexts, but it bears repeating here in the specific context of the 1 minute. Because the 1 minute's power is precisely undermined by the monitoring habit. Each act of monitoring takes you out of the state of having and into the state of watching to see whether you will have, which is the state of not yet having. And the law responds to the state you actually occupy, not the state you occupied in your 1 minute last night. The seed planted at the threshold of sleep is watered by trust and the sustained assumption of the waking day. It is damaged by the repeated return to watching and checking, which replants, with each return, the old seed of uncertainty alongside the new one. Plant the seed, then leave it alone. Tend it with the quiet daily practice of the recalibrating question and the redirected inner conversation. Do not dig it up to check on it. The law does not require your supervision. It requires only your trust. I want to speak now about something that every person who has worked seriously with this law has eventually confronted: the moment when the outer world presents its most energetic argument against the assumption. You have planted the seed. You have been faithful to the practice. And then something happens in the outer world that seems to directly contradict the assumption, that seems to say, with the weight of physical fact behind it, that what you have been assuming is not true and will not be true. This moment is the critical test, not of your positive attitude, not of your emotional resilience, but of your understanding of the law. Because if you understand the law correctly, this moment cannot shake you. And if it does shake you, it is a sign that the understanding needs to deepen. Here is what the contradiction actually is. Your outer world is the materialized residue of past assumptions. It is always, without exception, reporting on what was held in consciousness previously, not what is held there now. A contradiction arising in the outer world after you have planted a new assumption is not evidence that the new assumption has failed. It is the last expression of the old assumption, the old seed completing its growth into visible form at precisely the moment the new seed is already germinating beneath the surface. The two are simultaneous, the old harvest appearing in the field while the new planting is underway in the soil. There is no contradiction in this once you understand the sequence. But to a mind that does not understand the sequence, that looks at the outer world and takes its evidence at face value, it can feel like contradiction. And that feeling, if acted upon, will prompt the abandonment of the new assumption precisely at the moment it most needs to be maintained. Do not abandon it, not because persistence is virtuous in the abstract, but because the law is operating and your persistence is the only thing required of you. The outer world always catches up. It cannot help but catch up. The law that makes it reflect the old assumption is the same law that will make it reflect the new one, because it has no choice but to reflect whatever is established in consciousness. It is a mirror. It does not have preferences. It does not resist the new reflection. It simply takes time. In the outer world's terms, to shift from reflecting one thing to reflecting another. Maintain the assumption through the contradiction. Not by denying what you see what you see, and the outer world is presenting it clearly, but by understanding what it is. Old news, already in the process of being superseded by what you have established in consciousness, already retreating before the pressure of the new seed that is growing beneath it. This understanding, held in the body as well as the mind, felt as a genuine, settled certainty rather than a willed determination, is itself a form of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the feeling of one who knows how the law works and therefore cannot be shaken by the appearance of contrary evidence. And this knowing, this unshakable clarity, accelerates the manifestation in ways that anxious hoping never could. Before you leave here tonight, I want to give you something to carry that is more than an instruction. I want to give you a perspective, a way of seeing yourself and your relationship to the law that I believe will make the 1 minute feel not like a technique you are applying, but like a natural expression of what you already are. You are not a finite human being petitioning an infinite universe for what you want. That framing which most people carry, often without examining it, places you in the position of the smaller thing appealing to the larger. And it is precisely backwards. You are consciousness. You are the awareness in which the universe, the entire universe you experience, arises. The outer world does not contain your consciousness. Your consciousness contains the outer world, generates it, gives it its specific form and content. The universe is not something you are inside of. It is, as I have often said, yourself pushed out. This means that when you enter your 1 minute tonight, when you feel, in the quiet before sleep, the genuine, settled, ordinary reality of your desire fulfilled, you are not asking permission of something larger than yourself. You are not sending a message to an external intelligence and hoping it will respond favorably. You are establishing, in the only realm where establishment is possible, the fact of what you have chosen to experience. And the outer world, which is your consciousness made visible, has no choice but to conform. This is not arrogance. It is the precise and accurate understanding of what you are. Every teacher who has understood the inner life, from the authors of the ancient scripture to the mystics of every tradition, has pointed to this same recognition, that the creative power is not outside you, not withheld from you, not granted to you conditionally by some external authority. It is you. It is the very nature of your consciousness. It is what you already are, whether you use it deliberately or not. The 1 minute is simply the decision to use it deliberately, to choose, with the full weight of your conscious intention, what seed you will plant tonight in the soil of the infinite creative medium that is your own deeper mind. That choice made tonight, in the quiet before sleep, with the genuine feeling of the wish fulfilled, sets in motion forces whose magnitude cannot be overestimated and whose reliability has never once, in all my years of testing this law, failed. Lie down tonight. Let the day go. Let the conscious mind grow quiet. And in that quiet, in that 1 minute, feel the reality of what you have chosen. Feel the naturalness of it, the ordinariness of it, the settled, taken for granted, completely unremarkable, of course, of a life in which the desired thing is simply already present. Plant the seed, trust the soil, and wake tomorrow as one who knows that what they have planted cannot fail to grow. This is Neville Lectures. I'll see you again in the next video.